Clay didn't even look up when I walked into the room, just kept tapping away on his tablet like I wasn't standing there with my name badge still on and the sweat from the warehouse clinging to my shirt. The office smelled like printer toner and burned coffee. I stood there longer than I needed to, arms folded tight across my chest, jaw locked so hard my teeth ached. He knew I was there. He always did this, pretending people didn't exist until it suited him. My name's Jordan. I'm 38. I live in Joliet, Illinois. 5 years at this company, 3 of those carrying weight nobody bothered to notice unless something broke. Clay finally lifted his eyes like he'd just remembered I was part of the furniture. "Jordan, thanks for coming in. Won't take long." His voice had that clipped, bored rhythm, like he was already halfway out of the conversation. I didn't move toward the chair. I stayed standing, boots planted on the carpet that still had forklift dust ground into it. Only after he pointed with the edge of his tablet and said, "Go ahead," did I sit. The moment I did, he turned the tablet around. "Can you explain this?" On the screen was a frozen security image, grainy and slightly off angle. Me, walking past the front registers, headed toward the break room. "That's me on break," I said evenly. Clay tilted his head, the fake thoughtful look he used when he wanted to sound reasonable. "You weren't at your register." "I wasn't scheduled on registers today," I said. "I was warehouse side. I loaded out 3 full pallets before noon and reorganized floor stock to clear space for the incoming shipment." I leaned forward slightly. "I also fixed the dock schedule so weekend loads wouldn't stack up. That's all logged." He leaned back in his chair and folded his hands, like he was presiding over a hearing. "We had a floor manager report you missing. About 12 minutes. My break is 15, and no one could locate you. When a customer needed help in aisle 5, you weren't available." I pressed my palms flat on my thighs to keep them from curling into fists. "I'm not assigned to floor support, and I hit every metric this morning. I beat unload targets by 18 minutes. Everything you're talking about is tracked." Clay smiled slowly, the kind of smile that meant the decision was already made. "We're restructuring. Lean operations, less overlap. We're focusing on staff who provide visible value." Visible value. The words hung there, hollow. I blinked once. Visible to who? He nodded like he'd anticipated the question. "Customers, management, the front-facing side of things." "So, what are you saying?" I asked, even though my chest already felt tight with the answer. "We're letting you go effective immediately due to inefficiency." No warning, no write-ups, no HR sitting in, just a clean sentence meant to erase 5 years. "Before we start, how's your day going and where are you joining from?" I stared at him, making sure I kept my mouth shut long enough not to say something that would follow me later. Then I stood, slid the chair back into place, and walked out without another word. I counted my steps down the hallway just to keep my head clear. 1, 2, 3. Past the break room, past seasonal. The sales floor was packed, registers blinking, customers waiting, and Clay stayed in his glass box like the world outside didn't exist. My badge still hung around my neck. Nobody stopped me, nobody cared. I walked straight through the sliding doors into the parking lot. The sky was heavy with clouds, the wind sharp against my damp shirt, but I barely noticed. My car was exactly where I left it, 3 rows out, middle spot. I got in, shut the door, and sat there for a second with my hands on the steering wheel. Then I opened my laptop. It booted instantly. Custom build, one of those inefficiencies I'd supposedly wasted time on. The VPN connected without a hiccup. Everything was still live, admin access untouched. Of course it was. Clay thought firing me was just paperwork. He never understood the machinery underneath the place. I cracked open a can of cold coffee from the glove box while the dashboards loaded. The systems behind those stores weren't accidental. 3 branches, all stitched together by code I wrote during early mornings and late nights, before shifts and after close. Inventory forecasting that actually learned patterns, smart restock triggers, loyalty behavior analysis, driver rerouting for last-mile delivery delays. None of it flashy, all of it critical. I didn't build a back door to show off or burn anything down. I built it after a third-party vendor got compromised last summer. We caught it early, but I saw how fragile everything really was. The rollback protocol was insurance, a fire extinguisher behind glass. Today, I pulled it. No alarms, no drama, just a sequence of commands I knew by muscle memory. Within seconds, my optimized layers began to peeling away, replaced by the old patchwork systems the company started with. Shipping estimates reverted, restock logic dulled, loyalty scoring dropped back to batch updates. Quiet degradation. Controlled. I closed the laptop when it finished, started the car. As I drove out, the store looked the same as always. Same sale banners, same busted cart return, same cashier sneaking a smoke. Inside, everything was already slowing down. I didn't need to look back. They wanted visible value. They were about to get a clear picture of what invisible value really meant. The clouds broke as I hit the highway, a thin strip of winter sun catching the road. I cracked the window and let the cold air wash over my face. No guilt, no hesitation, just space. I pulled into my driveway before noon, tossed my badge on the counter, set the laptop beside it, made coffee. By 2, my phone exploded. First, a text from Clay. "Are you near a computer?" Then calls. Headquarters, back to back. I ignored them. Another message. "We're having issues. Can you check your end?" Voicemails stacked up. Systems lagging, orders not syncing, loyalty data missing, 3 branches showing errors. I muted the phone and watched a squirrel tear up my lawn like nothing else mattered. Jenna from logistics messaged, "You seeing this chaos?" I didn't respond. I ate cold pizza over the sink. By 4, management panicked. Emails marked urgent, critical failures, need you on a call ASAP. I screenshotted it. By evening, unknown numbers kept calling. One text begged. I deleted it. I made more coffee. Let the house stay quiet. At 9, another email came through. "Your expertise is critical." That one almost made me smile. I left it unread. By midnight, over 100 notifications waited. I put the phone face down and went to bed. No alarms, no voices, just quiet. Morning came soft and bright. Coffee brewed. An unknown Chicago number called. I answered after the second ring. "Hello, Jordan. This is Ryan Mitchell, Regional VP. He sounded tired. "We're in trouble. Clay didn't understand how interconnected your work was. We want to fix this. Higher pay, new title, equity." I leaned against the counter, sipped my coffee, and listened. "I'm not coming back," I said. Ryan tried again. "Authority, control, Clay gone." I shook my head. "That's not the issue." "Then what is?" he asked. I took another sip and answered. "You fired me, and while I was still employed, I activated a rollback protocol I was legally authorized to use." There it was. Silence on the other end. Not the casual kind, the kind where someone's flipping through mental files. "I documented everything," I continued. "The protocol existed. It was approved." I initiated it before my termination timestamp. You can check your own logs. That protocol has caused millions in disruption. Ryan said the smoothness was gone. Now if this escalates, legal will. Legal already knows, I cut in, because I sent myself copies of every approval, every email, and every system log, including dates, including times. He exhaled hard. "Jordan, let's not make this adversarial. You let your regional manager's son fire me for taking a break," I said. "This is already past adversarial." His voice dropped. "If you don't cooperate, we'll have to explore consequences." "There are no consequences for me," I said. "I followed policy. I acted within my role. After you terminated me, I did nothing." Another pause. Longer this time. "Help us fix this," he said, "for the sake of the company." "That company fired me without cause," I said, "and I'm not obligated to save it." "What about your coworkers?" he pressed. "People you worked with for years." I thought about Jenna. about the warehouse guys who busted their backs every shift, about the floor staff who never knew my name but benefited from my work. Then I thought about Clay, leaning back in that chair, smirking. "I'm done," I said. Ryan's voice sharpened. "If you walk away, you're burning bridges." "I already crossed the bridge," I said. "You lit it on fire." There was a quiet click on the line. He'd hung up. I set the phone down on the counter and didn't touch it again. The coffee was still hot. I took another sip, slower this time, and stared out the kitchen window at my empty driveway. No shaking hands, no racing heart, just calm. When the mug was empty, I rinsed it, set it in the sink, and walked back to the living room. I sank into the couch, phone face down again, laptop untouched on the dining table. Outside, it was just another cold, gray Monday. But inside that company, I knew things were already falling apart. By Tuesday morning, the press got wind of it. Regional retail chains suffering from internal system failures, one headline read. Another said, experts suspect malware after widespread disruptions in supply chain systems. I didn't correct them. That week turned into a slow-motion train wreck. On day 3, I checked the company's internal status dashboard, public-facing, the kind analysts watch. Everything was red. Delivery estimates off by 5 to 7 days. Customer rewards balances gone or glitched. Financial tracking was misreporting totals by the tens of thousands. They even shut down express checkout in several stores. I got a push notification from a retail watchdog forum. Thread title: "Why is company name always out of stock lately?" Replies flooded in. Angry customers, delayed orders, loyalty points missing. People noticed fast. The company released a canned statement, something about unexpected technical disruptions due to an infrastructure update. No mention of rollback, no mention of me. Of course not. I scrolled while drinking my coffee, watching them twist themselves in knots, trying to explain why nothing worked. That afternoon, Jenna texted, "Everything's a mess. Nothing works. I'm so sorry this happened to you." I stared at the message longer than I should have. She wasn't the enemy. She was one of the few people who ever actually listened when I warned them what could go wrong. She used the tools I built the right way, never once treated me like an invisible cog. Part of me wanted to write back, something small, some kind of comfort. But then I saw it again in my head. Clay leaning back in that meeting room chair, hands folded like he was doing me a favor. That smug, rehearsed line about visible value. I locked my phone and slid it across the table. By Thursday, it was all over the news. The chain's stock had dropped 10% overnight. Some talking head on a business channel said they're hemorrhaging operational efficiency. If this continues, it could spark a regional collapse. I didn't feel joy watching it. This wasn't revenge. I hadn't touched a thing since the rollback. I didn't lift a single finger to sabotage. I just stopped holding the system together, and without me, it cracked like cheap glass. Another message came in from someone in accounting. I hadn't talked to her in over a year. "Jordan, please, can you talk to someone? We're all drowning." I didn't respond, because here's the truth. That company didn't care who I helped. They only cared who they could see, who smiled in meetings, who wore the right shirt, who stayed on the floor even when their job didn't require it. And when it came time to decide whether my work mattered, they handed the choice to a kid who'd never written a single line of code or unpacked a single crate. So no, I didn't step in. I didn't fix it. I watched from my couch as the empire I kept standing started to rot from the inside. They were loud about their praise for visible value, so now they could visibly deal with the consequences. I took another sip of coffee and turned up the volume on the news. The meeting room at Novamart's headquarters smelled like fresh paint and ambition. I'd been here before, twice actually. They'd reached out a year ago and again 6 months later, both times trying to pull me from the shadows of my old job. I turned them down back then. Loyalty, stupidity, whatever you want to call it. This time, I said yes.
Lauren walked in right on time, mid-40s, sharp suit, sharper eyes. She shook my hand like someone who didn't bother with fake politeness. "Jordan, thanks for coming in. Everyone's very interested in what you've got." I nodded, set my laptop on the glass table, and opened the file folder beside it. Glad to be here. There were 4 people in the room: Lauren, 2 tech leads, and someone from legal. Judging by his tight jaw and constant note-taking, I didn't waste time. I pulled up my dashboard and clicked into a stripped-down demo I'd built the night before. What you're about to see isn't theory. It ran live across 3 full stores for nearly a year. Predictive inventory modeling based on seasonal flow, local buying behavior, and supplier trends reduced shrinkage by 21%. Lauren leaned in, eyes on the screen. And this was self-initiated entirely? No formal directive, no budget, just time and results. I clicked to the next slide. Customer loyalty scores went up 33% after I layered automation into the rewards program, personalized discounts based on real-time purchase patterns, engagement retention went up, lapsed customers returned faster. The tech leads exchanged a glance. One whispered, "Damn," under his breath. Lauren smiled slightly, but didn't look away from the numbers. "You built all this without asking permission?" I met her eyes. Didn't need permission to fix things that were broken. The legal guy finally spoke. "What about intellectual property? Anything from your previous employer covered by contract?" I already had the folder open. Everything I built was logged under my own credentials, outside of project scope, on unpaid hours. I have documentation, timestamps, and email confirmations. My contract gave me latitude to self-initiate optimization protocols without formal assignment. I slid the folder across the table. Also included legal reviews, external counsel opinions, and a signed internal memo approving the rollback protocol I triggered last week. He flipped through it like he already knew what he was looking for. Lauren waited for him to speak again, but when he nodded slowly and said, "Clean," she looked back at me with real interest now. "You're not just offering a tool," she said. "You're offering a system." I nodded, "and the strategy that goes with it, if you want it." She tapped her pen on the table. "We'd want licensing first, but I'd like to explore something else."
I stayed quiet. "How would you feel about stepping in full-time?" she asked. "VP of Logistics Systems. Build your team, direct the rollout, own it." I blinked once, not from shock, just from the weight of hearing the thing I hadn't realized I wanted that bad. "I'd be open to that," I said. Lauren glanced around the table. "Let's get a preliminary agreement drafted." We shook hands, hers firm and certain. No smile, no over-the-top celebration, just business, but the good kind, the kind built on actual respect. By the time I left the building, it was almost dark. Chicago wind hit me as soon as the door slid shut behind me, sharp and clean. I stood there for a second, watching traffic crawl past on the main road, people going places they didn't hate. My shoulders felt lighter than they had in years. I hadn't noticed how much weight I'd been carrying until it was gone. I crossed the lot to my car, already thinking about the rollout plan. I was halfway through a chicken sandwich in the Novamart cafe when the first cease and desist landed in my inbox. Subject line, "Immediate action required, unauthorized use of company property." I forwarded it straight to Lisa, my attorney, without opening the PDF. I trusted her more than I trusted half the executives I used to work for. 10 minutes later, she replied with a 2-line response. "They have no leg to stand on. I'll handle it." And she did. She sent back a reply so cold and surgical it made me laugh out loud in the middle of the break room. Something about contractual oversights, time of termination documentation, and intellectual property rights unclaimed by the previous employer. Basically, sit down and shut up. But they didn't. A day later, I got another one, more aggressive this time. Legal threats, demands, a list of systems they claimed ownership over. Then came the email titled Cooperation Opportunity. That one actually made me pause. Inside, it said they'd be open to discussion around strategic alignment and restoring operational continuity if I would agree to a short-term consulting window, NDA attached.
Of course, I didn't reply. I just flagged it, forwarded it to Lisa again, and went back to sketching out logistics flowcharts for Lauren's team. But the outside world wasn't staying quiet. By the end of the week, the story broke. Employee fired for taking break crashes operations of regional retail giant. The headline was everywhere. News sites, LinkedIn articles, retail blogs, even Reddit. The details weren't perfect, but the headline stuck. People love that kind of fire. I didn't say a word. I didn't post, didn't comment, didn't leak a damn thing. But social media ran with it anyway. "Dude's a legend," one tweet read. "Imagine firing the architect of your entire system because he went on break," another said. There were memes, photoshops, someone even made a t-shirt. The company tried to run damage control, but they were 3 steps behind. Anonymous sources started talking to reporters. One of them even confirmed Clay had been the one who signed off on my firing. That part really lit the fire. The inbox that had been silent for months suddenly came alive. Former coworkers, managers, even a couple directors messaged me. Some apologizing, some trying to explain, a few practically begging. "Didn't know it would blow up like this. Clay made the call, we couldn't stop it. Please, they're falling apart. We need help." I read every one of them, didn't respond to any. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even satisfied. I was just done. At Novamart, the rollout was picking up speed. Lauren made the announcement at the leadership meeting. New predictive logistics initiatives launching Q1. No one in the room asked where the tech came from. They didn't have to. Investors noticed. Analysts picked up on it. Novart's stock started ticking upward. Quiet at first, then steady. The market liked what it saw. Meanwhile, my old company was bleeding out in the dark, scrambling for a lifeline they'd torched with their own hands. I didn't celebrate, didn't post a victory speech. Let them keep guessing. Let it burn quietly. I was in the middle of reviewing shipment flow diagrams when my phone buzzed again, this time from a number I hadn't seen before. I almost ignored it. Almost. I answered without saying hello. "Jordan," Ryan said. His voice was lower this time, not tired, just drained. I waited. "I'll get to the point," he said. "We are prepared to offer you $18 million for full restoration of the system. You'd sign a comprehensive NDA, of course. We'd clear your name internally. Quiet settlement, clean exit." I didn't even blink. 25. He paused like he thought I was joking. I wasn't. 25 million, I repeated. "And I'll stop you right there. I know you won't pay it, and even if you did, it wouldn't matter." Ryan's voice stayed calm, too calm. "That's a massive number." "So was the loss you took last week," I said. "That's the price." I heard his chair creak, probably sitting in some glass-walled office, sleeves rolled up, the smell of panic just out of frame. "Even if we could meet that," he said slowly, "would you actually do it?" "No," I said. "I can't. The system's gone. It's licensed now, owned by Novamart." He let out a long breath. "So that's it." "That's it." There was a beat of silence, then the pivot. "Jordan, forget the money," he said. "This is bigger than you or Clay. Hundreds of employees are being impacted. Operations teams, store managers, even part-time floor staff. You've worked with some of these people for years." "I know who I worked with," I said. "Then help them," he pushed. "Do it for them." "No," I said, calm as ever. "I did my part. They fired me. That was your choice." "I didn't authorize it," he said, "but you let it stand." I didn't have time to reverse it. I shook my head, even though he couldn't see me. "You had time, you just didn't care until the numbers tanked." He didn't respond. I leaned back in my chair. "You let your son fire the architect for eating lunch." Ryan let out a sigh, a full one this time. No rebuttal, no defense, just breath and silence. Then he hung up. I didn't bother staring at the phone. I just tapped to stop the call recording and forwarded the transcript to Lisa with the subject line, "Final offer. Record for archive." Then I got back to work. The world wasn't waiting for apologies or second chances. The world moved, so I moved with it. I signed the offer the next morning. Title, VP of Logistics Systems. Full control, my team, my call. No oversight from clueless executives or someone's kid playing director. Lauren congratulated me in person with a short handshake and a nod. No speech, no fake smiles, just trust. By the end of the week, I had a corner office and 6 people reporting directly to me. First meeting, they came prepared. Laptops open, pens ready, questions lined up. Real questions. Can you walk us through the prediction model again? How did you flag returns as shrink indicators before it showed in reports? What assumptions did you build into the customer retention loop? They listened, took notes, asked follow-ups. No one interrupted, no one looked past me to find someone else for answers. I walked them through it all. I didn't hold back. I didn't need to. I was building something that mattered, and they saw it. And for the first time in years, my name showed up on the rollout slides in bold. Jordan Riley, Lead System Architect. I started eating lunch at my desk the first day out of habit. Old wiring.
But Lauren noticed. "You can actually eat," she said, poking her head in. "This place won't fall apart." So I did. Some days I joined her in the cafe, talking shop over turkey sandwiches. Some days I sat alone outside in the sun. No timer, no pressure, no hidden clock ticking in someone else's office. And the systems, they started showing results fast. Loss prevention up, returns down, customer loyalty climbing. Operations running smoother than they had in years. We launched a new pilot program in 2 southern districts, and the response blew past expectations. Meanwhile, back at my old company, the spiral kept going. Rumors said they tried to build their own version of what I designed, but no one could figure out how the parts fit together because they weren't parts. They were mine. Clay vanished from their internal org chart. No press, no update, just gone. A week later, Ryan's, stepping down, was buried in a late Friday press release focusing on personal priorities. Sure, I didn't post, I didn't celebrate. I built, I thrived, and every single day when lunch rolled around, I stood up, shut my laptop, and took my damn break, because no one ever fires me for eating.